Hi, this is David from Fumastro Management Consulting, and in this video we are going to continue exploring Power BI and mainly Power Query. So when doing some analytics, the majority of the time is in preparing the data, cleaning it, transforming it, and really preparing it for better analysis. So Power Query plays an important part in Power BI, and that's the focus in that video is continuing discovering Power Query and getting familiar with the tool to extract data or get data actually from different sources, okay? And apply different steps to transform that data into something that we will be able after to use within the data model of Power BI, or again in Excel, because Power Query is also available in Excel. So let's spend a bit more time discovering what are the different tools and buttons that we have available in the ribbon. So again, we have different tabs available within our ribbon. The most important one will be Add Column, Transform, and Home. And then, okay, when we, depending on what we have, also we could have additional tabs that are going to display only when selected items are being selected. Okay, so that's a sample file, so it's the binary file, so we have access to the binary tool, and this is the parameter. We don't have any specific parameter, but if we had a list, we would have a different icon for that list. It's a different type of query, and we would have a specific list tab that would display as well. Okay, so otherwise the most important one that we will spend the most of the time are Add Column tab, Transform tab, and the Home tab, in which we have the majority of the transformation tools that we need to operate on our file. So very important data type that's key to analyzing data. Okay, so we have a text type, but also different type of numbers, data type, date and time data type, and Boolean value. In this case, okay, we have different countries, and we could actually, for the purpose of analyzing a little bit and getting a better understanding of our file here, of our raw data, we could group data by country. Okay, we could group our table by country. Okay, so it picked product, but we want countries, and we want the number of items in each country, but we could also go to advanced and have the sum of all units sold for each of those countries. Okay, so we could add a second layer of aggregation already within Power Query to gain a better understanding. So total unit sold, and it would be the aggregation type that we are going to apply will be the sum in that case of the units sold, and it's going to apply a new step, grouped rows, and here we go with the sum of rows, the count of rows for each country and the total units sold for each country as well. So okay, surprisingly it has the same number of rows for each country. Okay, that can be. We could eventually click on the gear icon here just beside the applied step name and change, instead of counting rows or instead of countries, we could count how many products we have, how many products we have sold and how many products we can count. Okay, So in that case, it is different. Okay, we have different results for the number of products that we have sold, or the number of rows, and for each product when we could have sold different units individually for each country and records. Okay, so that's a quick way of analyzing the data, and for some particular cases you might need the grouping option to group your data and create different views of your data. So in that case, okay, I'm just going to delete that step, as we just review what we can do with it, and we don't especially need that. What else do we have? We have, well, replace value, we have seen it before. We have the possibility, okay, to split our column. So in that case, I don't see much any column from which we could split data. Well, eventually, okay, we have the date here. We could select our date and then, okay, split by delimiter, and we could extract the year or extract the day and the month. Well, in this case, we have already that information, the number, the day, the month, and the year are already present. But okay, just for the purpose of that exercise, we could use split by delimiter. Well, automatically Power Query has analyzed the type of data that we have inside and what's the content, and proposes the / So, well, we could apply it for each occurrence of that delimiter, in which in this case, okay, it's going to split that very column into 3, or we could say I just want, okay, the leftmost delimiter, okay, data from the leftmost delimiter. Let's do each column of that, and now we have, okay, the day in one column, the month in the other column, and the year in another column. Okay, let's delete that step again and move on to other options that we have. Let's have a look. Did I delete it? Let's delete it. Transform. What can we do? We can transpose our data, reverse rows, count rows. Okay, so if I select, whatever, this is applied at the table level. So whatever I select, actually, I don't even need to select anything in particular. I'm going to click on count rows, and I have the total number of rows within our table. This is applied at the table level. So whatever I select, I could select a cell, a range, a record, or a column. It counts for the table. And again, okay, we can notice that we have a new tab that has appeared, as we have actually a new type of query which returns a scalar value. Okay, and so for that we have a new icon, a new tab available, new things. Okay, let's delete that step, go back to the previous state of our query, go back to the transform, and again here, group by, the same as this group by here. It's exactly the same. Use first row as header is the same as this one, which is also the same as we can have here. Okay, so different ways to obtain the same thing. Transpose, transform. Okay, well, the majority of those things are not available because we don't have anything selected. As soon as I select a column, those are becoming available. So those actually are performed at the column level. Okay, so that's why if I don't have anything, if I don't have a column selected or an item, a unique item within that column, those won't be available. Okay, as soon as I select one single item within that column or the entire column, I have access to those functionalities, those functions. Let's have a look at the add column. So some functions are actually similar to what we can have in either the transform or the home one. but this is to create a new column. So for instance, we have the let's have a look. We should have no. So some of the things are similar, but just they create a new column. Okay. So like the date and time, for instance. Okay. So those are available here as well, date and time, which do the same but create a new column in that case. Okay, from date and time. All right. So here we have different things. Okay, we can play with the format. If I want my country or product in uppercase, I can apply uppercase for that. But again, it's going to create a new column. Okay, so this is actually something that we have available here as well, format in the transform. But if I transform my column from the transform tab, it will transform the column without creating a new one. From this one, the add column, when I perform a transformation on this one, it's going to create a column. And apparently, okay, it's a little bit slow processing it. It seems okay not to have accepted the change that I wanted to apply. So let's do from the transform tab, okay, format uppercase, and here we go, we have it. It's not all uppercase, and actually the column I created before, it's here. It appeared at the end, so it created a new column with uppercase product, and we have our product with well, just the first letter as a capital letter, the rest as a lowercase, and that step I have applied after. So those two things are very different. Notice how we can navigate between the different steps. So before capitalizing, after capitalizing, and we have our column here, and if I go back to the step just before creating that column, we don't have that column uppercase. Okay, so we can navigate between the different steps to go backward in the stages of our query. And again, we don't have the undo available in this context. We just have the possibility to delete steps and reapply those steps. Okay. So we can apply formats, trim, clean, add prefix and add suffix, and I think the things are pretty similar here in the add column. So it's important to say that we need to be careful in which tab we are before applying our steps. Sometimes we are inside here, the add column, start performing a format transformation when in fact we just wanted to transform it within the same column and not especially creating a duplicated column. Okay, so well, we have seen a little bit what we can do between the different tabs. Of course, there is way much more to explore, but it's already a good overview. Now let's have a look also. If I right click on that query, what we can do, we can delete it, rename it, enable load or disable load, so to load it in the data model or not. And okay, changing the name, it's exactly the same as going there and changing the name in the properties pane. And we can also duplicate it or reference it. Okay, so if I duplicate it, I have exactly the same query with all the steps as they have been applied. This is a duplication. Okay, we have all the steps, and if I reference it, I reference it in the latest state in which it was. So I only have one step in that case, which is the latest step applied to that query. I think it was this one, right? Let's go back. Yeah, it's the number 2, okay, that I reference. So now if I do any transformation in this one, so this one references the number 2. So anything I apply in number 2 will be reflected in the number 3. Okay, so if I let's do some transformation in this one, we can add or multiply by, let's say, 100 that column, so we can perform some modification calculation. Okay, so before, what did I do? And after, I think I was adding up. What did I do? What does it do? Each minus, I was subtracting. Okay, well, I was subtracting. All right. And actually I made a mistake. You see, I wanted to apply it in this one. Okay, let's go back. Let's delete our step and go to this one. I just wanted to demonstrate that, okay, when I apply a transformation to this query, it's going to be reflected in this query. So we are going to see it here. So let's go back and select our unit sold and do a standard multiply. That's what I wanted before. Yeah, multiply. Okay, let's do 1000 to really notice the difference. Each multiplied by, okay, now we can see clearly. And now we have it here as well. Okay, so we have any transformation that I have applied in this query are being reflected in the one that references that query. However, if I do any transformation in the original data, it won't be reflected in the duplicated one, because this one is an independent one. It's just a copy of the previous one. Okay, so if I apply any transformation in this one, let's do a divide it by 100. Okay, divide by 100. It won't be reflected in this one. Those two are completely dependent. This one is dependent on this one. Okay, so that's what reference do. Okay, when we do a reference and when we do a duplicate, okay, it creates simply a copy. Okay, then after we can eventually organize in folders, in groups, and well, okay, create function. This is a bit advanced. And if we want to have a look at the code that has been created in the background, here we go. Here we have all the code that Power Query creates when we apply steps in Power Query. And the language, well, is commonly known as mQuery language in Power Query, the M language. And it's very rich. Okay, so if you don't have the different function or the transformation steps that you would wish to apply within the toolbar, you can still use the formula editor or eventually the advanced editor to use the rich well, to really use all the functions that are available. So table function, list function, text functions, and many more that I can't list them all here. Let's have a look. If we do a table, if we start typing a function, we have access to all the list of the functions that are available for that type of object, okay, the table. And then we can see that if I if I insert a dot, I will have access to all the transformation methods that I can apply to a table. And if I start typing list, I will have all the transformation methods that are applicable to a list. And if I do text, then I will have access to all the transformation method applicable to text, and so on and so on. So again, if it's not available in the ribbon and you feel like, oh, I have exhausted all the capabilities of the ribbon, where you have access to also the editor, the formula bar, and the entire library of functions existing in the M language. Alright, that's it for today, for the discovery of Power Query and what we can do inside. Let's be curious, have a look at the ribbon and the different buttons within the different tabs. Click on each of those buttons, discover what it does, and if you did a mistake, well, you can simply delete that step. So now we can delete the multiplication step, division step, and whatever we did. So it's quite easy to apply and delete the step. All right, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video.